Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the next, or actually the first release, which I missed somehow. Let me fetch. I'm good at fetching. Back in the day when Reijo Killunen was running Ondine Records, I used to know what was coming out. Now he's gone. He's retired. He founded and developed the label into the stellar organization that it is. And the only thing it's missing is some sort of notification of what's happening there. I mean, I used to get personal notification. That was nice. And the business is the business. Anyway, Ondine is working on a new Sibelius cycle, it seems. I got the Fifth Symphony under Nicholas Collon, who was a very fine conductor. It was a wonderful disc. They're mixing symphonies with incidental music, which is a great idea, in my view, because the incidental music doesn't get the attention it deserves, and there are some magnificent suites and other things there. And the first was this one, which was recorded in 2022. Maybe it came out then. I don't know. That would have been like COVID-y, sort of, right? So who knows? But anyway, this was released, and I grabbed it because the fifth was really good, and I hadn't heard this one. And it is really, really a fine performance, as you might expect. He's with the Finnish Radio Symphony Orchestra, of which he is music director through at least 2028 now, I think. Collon was the founder, or one of the founders, of the Aurora Orchestra with Robin Ticciati, I believe. And he's a fine conductor, but he's a fine conductor of a certain type. He is a conductor of Sibelius, anyway, of the post-romantic Sibelius school. In other words, cool, not with no roots in Sibelius's origins. Liszt, Tchaikovsky, those people. It'll be interesting to hear what happens when he gets to the earlier symphonies, if he can really, touch the vein of romanticism that runs through them. This is a beautifully shaped performance of the Seventh Symphony, and you get also two fabulous suites, Pélleas and Mélisande and King Christian. So, they're fabulous. I mean, it's really fabulous. But in any case, the seventh. Let's start with the seventh. Collon really gets the transitions, which is so important in this symphony. The gradual increase in speed, the gradual decrease, the moment where the main theme returns at the very end. I mean, he's just, the flow is unbroken. It's really, really beautifully realized. However, there's always a however. For what it is, it's a beautiful performance. I'm not being critical in that sense. But if you're looking for, those reflections, the extremes of emotion that Sibelius was still involved in at this stage in his career, that big scream at the end, da 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 da, it's doing that thing at the end, da da da, then the brass hit that low note, and the horns come in, the violins are screaming at the top. Well, it doesn't happen. I mean, it's there, obviously, but you just don't get that level of intensity that you would when people like Ormandy and Karajan and those people did this symphony. He's just not in that current of emotional expression, and I miss it, quite frankly. I don't dispute the appropriateness of what he's doing. He's following the dynamics. It's all of a piece. Also, there's one other moment that got me, towards the beginning, when the main theme returns in the minor key in the trombones and the strings are going, and then the trombones come in with, the clarity of that passage is beautiful. It's true of the whole performance. It's enormously clear. But is it scary? It could be a little scarier. It really could. So this is a type of performance, a cool, modernist view of Sibelius with the symphonic process beautifully captured and projected. But those emotional highs, there are only a couple of them in the symphony. I mean, he could have hit them harder. He really could. It's beautifully played, beautifully recorded. I like the performance. I like it very much. But it leaves room, as it should, with a masterpiece, for other people's interpretations that are a little bit more eruptive and a little less seamless in their flow. Well, I like seamless in their flow and eruptive. It should be both, actually. Anyway, it's lovely. It's really lovely. It's beautiful. And the suites are terrific. Absolutely terrific. I mean, King Christian has got one of the most gorgeous movements in all of Sibelius, the opening nocturne, which is also very Tchaikovskyan. Oh my goodness! And here, Collon is more on point, I think. He builds. Well, he's got the flow, as you could tell from the Seventh Symphony. So he builds the thing to a really rich and lovely climax when it's just going, yeah, da 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 da. Yeah, it's really, really beautiful. Very well done. The middle movements are, tender and delightful, and the final ballade, which is a turbulent battle piece, is exciting. Very, very exciting. And Pélleas is just as good, just the same. Really first class. My sort of, linchpin for testing out Pélleas performances. Well, there are two of them. There's the Mélisande at her spinning wheel, which is so fabulously sinister. Oh my goodness, it's sinister, strange, and eerie, and it has that, the motion, the spinning wheel thing. But then you've got the English horn that only has a 3-note motive, and just over and over again, and a hint of a folk song, and some nasty crunching dissonances and thuds on the timpani. I mean, you hear doom. It's very, very well done because of that transparency that categorizes all of his characterizes all of his work on this recording. But it's really well done. And then there's that wonderful, wonderful interlude, that entr'acte, da 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 dum, flap 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 flap, with the little bird cheapies. Can't be so fast as to be breathless. And you don't want it to drag, and it doesn't. It's very nicely done. It's fresh and vivacious, effortless, and just beautiful. So it's a beautiful disc. It really is a beautiful disc. The music making is all of a piece. It has a definite point of view as regards Sibelius. Does it say all that there is to be said in the music? Well, of course, no performance does, but no, it doesn't. It will not displace your favorite, more romantic interpretations of the Seventh Symphony, at least, but it's certainly worth hearing and exciting. And since 7 and 5 are now available with couplings, I can look forward with great anticipation to further releases in what I hope will be this series, because we have yet to find, I think, a really great Sibelius interpreter in the new style. And Symphonies 1 and 2 will really tell what's going to happen here. We'll see how they go, if they do them. Anyway, keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.